Good morning, I'm Trinity Chavez. It is Wednesday, October 11th, and you are watching NYSE TV Live. We are coming to you from the New York Stock Exchange, the epicenter of the global financial markets on the corner of Wall and Broad Streets in Lower Manhattan. And today is a very special day. German premium footwear brand BIRKENSTOCK is going public under the ticker symbol BIRK or BIRK. And this powerhouse business is now joining the NYSE community of over 2,400 listed companies with over combined total market cap of around $40 trillion. Now, this highly anticipated IPO is the latest shoe to drop in the market. And for those of you who may not know, in 2021, BIRKENSTOCK was acquired by El Cateron, the private equity firm backed by French luxury giant LVMH or Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And this financial success has followed. In fiscal year 2022, its revenue totaled in at $1.31 billion, a roughly 70% increase from 2 years prior, and the 249-year-old German shoe brand has now evolved from orthopedic footwear brand to the world's most famous so-called ugly yet most fashionable sandal. BIRKENSTOCKs have been paired with the movie Barbie, the environmental movement, and has even graced some of the most prestigious catwalks with its collaborations with top designers such as Dior, Valentino, Fear of God, Manolo Blahnik, Rick Owens, and so much more. And now this billion-dollar business has hit the stock market. And to honor the occasion, we have companies branding all over this iconic building. From the cubes right behind me, we're actually seeing right now the whole setup that is actually on the trading floor. We have BIRKENSTOCK on full display on the cubes behind me, streamed across the facade of the New York Stock Exchange, again on the corner of Wall and Broad Streets in Lower Manhattan. Everyone here on the floor, myself included, is wearing BIRKENSTOCKs. And we also have Oliver Reinkert, who is the Chief Executive Officer of BIRKENSTOCK Group. He will ring the opening bell, opening up the U.S. equity markets. We also have dozens of his colleagues and associates here to celebrate this exciting day. In fact, let me share a few company stats with you to give you all a little brief of the overview of the company. BIRKENSTOCK Group has more than 6,000 employees and customers in over 75 countries, with U.S. accounts for more than 50% of sales. BIRKENSTOCK was also founded in 1774 as a vassal and shoemaker in Hessein village in Langen-Bergenheim. And now fast forward 249 years later, which is actually older than New York Stock Exchange, BIRKENSTOCK will become a public company and will officially start trading on the NYSE, a 231-year-old institution. Now these two iconic powerhouses are coming together to embark on the next phase of BIRKENSTOCK's journey. And again, to commemorate the moment, we will see the CEO. He will be presented with an NYSE medallion, an FTB gavel, along with the listing certificate. Now again, in 2021, BIRKENSTOCK was acquired by El Cateron, like I said, the private equity firm backed by French luxury giant LVMH. And in fiscal year 2022, its revenue totaled in at $1.31 billion. Now, to all of you who are watching, who have been a part of this pivotal moment, it's now making its public debut on the markets here at the NYSE. And speaking of the market, let's take a look at what the markets fared yesterday. The Dow added more than 130 points, notching a third straight positive day, while the S&P 500 gained about 0.52%. And now we're going to get more into the market news a little bit later and what we can expect throughout the day when I speak to Jay Woods, who is the Chief Global Strategist for Freedom Capital, a little bit later on in the floor. But first, I am going to bring in someone who has been covering BIRKENSTOCK Group very closely and everything leading up to this pivotal moment. His name is Jacob Gallagher. He is a fashion columnist for the Wall Street Journal. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. I mean, it's a great day to have BIRKENSTOCK here. We always love a good IPO to, start off a Wednesday morning. Tell me, what intrigued you about covering this IPO, covering BIRKENSTOCK from where you sit?
You know, I've been at the Journal for 10 years, and when I came in, I thought I was going to be covering suits a lot, and that has proved much less true, and I've been covering mules and shoes of this nature a lot more.
Yeah.
I think in that 10 years, we've seen a real casualization of style, and particularly a casualization in the footwear market. You know, sneakers dominate the market, mules dominate the market, Crocs, BIRKENSTOCKs, things of this nature, sandals. So I cover it because it's what people wear, frankly.
Yeah.
This is just the reality of the fashion landscape today, is that people like these shoes and this is what they are into. And I think we've really seen in particular this interesting collision of this shoe that is casual and is worn on the daily, as well as it being presented in a fashion landscape through collaborations. BIRKENSTOCK runs that playbook very well, and so it makes it a really interesting brand to cover, and that there's always kind of newness to cover in a certain way, as well as just talking with people about why they like the shoe that 30 years ago was associated with the hippies, frankly, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've sort of seen fashion do a full circle, right? But BIRKENSTOCK has been around for 249 years, and it has never been such a trend than it is now, than it is today. What do you think is driving the demand? I mean, we're seeing celebrities wearing BIRKENSTOCKs every single day. We saw a quick appearance in Barbie. We saw Margot Robbie wearing a pink pair of BIRKENSTOCks. What is driving this?
In the short term, everyone will point you toward the pandemic and the fact that during the pandemic, no one wanted to lace up their shoes. No one wanted to put even a sneaker on. And I spoke with a lot of people this week in particular that were kind of saying, I was at home, I saw some people wearing them online, I saw them appearing on my Instagram, and I thought, maybe I'll give them a chance. And then they became smitten with them. They fell in love with them. They started wearing them out the house. They started styling them. And I think that celebrities are people too. And I think that was true for them as well, where they liked the fact that it was this kind of shuffle about shoe that had a little bit, it wasn't like you were wearing a sack of potatoes. It still had some style quotient to it.
Yeah.
So it kind of satisfies both that comfort quotient and that cool factor as it has gone along. I think that we would have gotten there eventually, but I definitely think the pandemic accelerated that. And you can just see in the numbers of, BIRKENSTOCK's growth, and then even the growth of of BIRKENSTOCK on platforms like StockX, which is a resale marketplace. You can really see that has not dissipated since the pandemic, the interest in the brand.
Do you think it's also because it's backed by LVMH and the fact that it has done collaborations with Dior, Manolo Blahnik, huge designers?
Yeah. In my job, I speak to a lot of what I call average consumers, which is probably rude to them, but they are the kind of normal shopper out there. And a lot of them, I spoke with a lot of them this week, and they were saying it's organic and it has happened organically, and I'm into it because, my friend's sister wore it or what have you. And I think that is true, but I also do think that El Caterin has very savvily positioned this brand, or helped position this brand as something that is cool by aligning it with these, through these collaborations, which began before the acquisition, but have really only accelerated since 2021 when it was acquired. And we've seen, I was at the Dior show when they appeared on the runway, and that was the thing everyone was talking about after the show, was this kind of mule that had this interesting gray texture to it. And I think that ability of them to kind of keep BIRKENSTOCK in the press, getting covered by blogs, getting, we have $1,000 BIRKENSTOCK now.
Yeah.
There's ways in which it's been able to keep their name out there that has been really savvy using that luxury landscape.
And would you say, you have BIRKENSTOCks also.
I do
You said that you couldn't wear yours today because you've worn them so much.
Yeah, they're very beat. It's funny because I think probably like a lot of people had the Arizonas, the two-strap sandal in high school, and I wore those to death. I had them through high school and college, and those look, I don't even want to know what they look like somewhere in my childhood bedroom right now, but I have the Boston in black, and I wore it so much that like my wife eventually was like, it's curling, it smells, you can't keep wearing this, like this doesn't look good anymore. I think that though is true for a lot of people. Like, it's funny that it's a shoe that people post fit pics of on Instagram, and there'll be some marks on it, and there'll be, clearly it's worn. And I think people like that they have this relationship with breaking it in, which is very unlike a sneaker or even a dress shoe to a sense. You polish a dress shoe. I think BIRKENSTOCK is a very come-as-you-are shoe.
Yes.
You just have it, you wear it, and you put it together as you put it together.
They're very effortless, right?
Very effortless,
Very effortless shoe. But, we're talking about fashionable, fashionability. We're talking about fashion trends. The closed-toed shoe, like you mentioned, was one of the top sellers. I think, according to their IPO filing, it was something like 20% of consumers are buying the closed-toed version. What other fashion trends are we seeing right now in the market?
I think that it's funny because that shoe is kind of it's the epitomization of this trend we're seeing where frumpiness or ugliness is cool. It's been that way for a few years within high fashion, but we're really back in that zone where distressed jeans are popular. Levi's is pumping out these wider leg jeans all the time, and that's really hitting the market in a big way. You can look at brands like Balenciaga, like Vetements, that have really found success as being this kind of ugly chic, so to speak. And I think that obviously that is a hard trend to buy into if you're the average consumer, you know, financially and also just in the extreme nature of the look. But definitely within footwear, I mean, BIRKENSTOCK probably doesn't like when you mention Crocs in the same sentence, but you know, Crocs has definitely capitalized on that quite well, and they've, you know, that's a company we've seen have a lot of success through these increasingly outlandish collaborations. And I think particularly in footwear, people treat that as a space of novelty, and they really do, you know, buy into something that people are going to go, oh, what is that? You know, we had the Mischief Big Red Boot last year that everyone was obsessed with, this honking thing out of a cartoon, and that I think is really where the market's going to stay at. You know, you even see it with Nike doing certain dunk collaborations or certain releases that are, you know, they've got 8 colors on them and the swoosh is melting and there's all these things going on that make them just more interesting.
Well, thank you so much for all of that insight. I think we're going to leave it on that note. But for now, I'm going to toss it to JD with the street with a market update.
Good morning, Trinity. Here's a look at a few of the top stories that we are following this morning. U.S. futures are up on this Wednesday for both the Dow and the S&P, following momentum from a positive session in Asia-Pacific markets. South Korean stocks leading the gains there. And after their single best performance in nearly a year, European stocks were mixed in Wednesday's session as well. Big news this morning for one longtime New York Stock Exchange name, ExxonMobil agreeing to buy Pioneer Natural Resources for nearly $60 billion. It's an all-stock merger. It marks Exxon's largest deal since 1999, and that deal is expected to close in the first half of 2024. Here at home later on today, we will get minutes from the last FOMC meeting. The Fed, of course, held rates steady in September, but the higher for longer realization pushing long-term yields as of late to their highest levels seen in years. Traders will be very eager to find further guidance buried in those minutes, kind of like a treasure hunt, just not really as cool. Wall Street was shocked with Friday's news of 336,000 non-farm payrolls for the month of September. Of course, not to mention upward revisions from the 2 months prior as well. But last week's upward pressure on yields may actually have a bit of a silver lining for investors. Just a few days ago, Fed Vice Chair Philip Jefferson said, quote, "I will remain cognizant of the tightening in financial conditions through higher bond yields, and I will keep that in mind," he says, "as I assess the future path of policy." That 10-year yield this morning is at 4.56% after peaking at 4.87 last week. Also, today is new PPI data for the month of September. Economists expect to see prices tick up 0.3% for producers, and that would be a pullback from the 0.7% increase reported the previous month in August. And tomorrow, of course, we will be closely following both CPI inflation data as well as initial jobless claims. And at the end of the week, we will see the newest read on consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan. And hopefully this Friday the 13th won't be too spooky for the big banks. See what I did there? JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and PNC, not to mention BlackRock, all set to report on Friday. In this new-ish world of higher for longer interest rates, a bank's lending, funding, and capital requirements will all be under the microscope, as well as, of course, the health of the consumer. But Wall Street CEOs have cited the return of IPOs as at least one welcomed sign of recovery, and we certainly have a big one today. Trinity, back to you.
All right, guys, we are on the trading floor right now. You're probably going to get images of the traders running by here in their BIRKENSTOCKs because, again, this is an active trading floor. They're getting ready to open up the U.S. equity markets. We're about 90 seconds out, actually about a minute out now, 60 seconds. So we have about 200 traders on the floor actively placing in orders that have come in overnight as we're preparing to officially welcome BIRKENSTOCK to the NYSE community of over 2,400 listed companies. We're right, actually, look at all of this greenery because, again, the sustainability efforts and environmental projects that BIRKENSTOCK is efforting. This is the first trade bell, which they will be ringing later on today. Again, the designated market maker is Citadel, and I will tell you more about that, but first we're about 5 seconds out from opening up the U.S. equity markets, so let's listen in. right, the market is officially open. All eyes around the world are on BIRKENSTOCK, ringing that opening bell. And you know, as I said, Citadel Securities is a designated market maker. This is Pete Giacchi. He is the head of floor trading for Citadel Securities. I'm going to let him tell you about his role and why it's so significant.
Well, thank you, Trinity. First of all, an extremely exciting day for BIRKENSTOCK, for the New York Stock Exchange, and for Citadel Securities. We're very, very excited about having the opportunity to partner with the company. The role for Citadel Securities and the DMM on a day like today is to work with the underwriters to find the price to open the stock. This will take place over the course of the next few hours as we triangulate all the order flow entering the New York Stock Exchange, both buy and sell, and narrowing down the price prior to the opening. It's unique to the New York Stock Exchange that we have this opportunity to go through the price discovery process this way.
Yeah, so let's actually talk about the price discovery process. What are we looking at right now? How do you anticipate? How do you price it out?
Yeah, so it's a little early right now in the process. As you know, this is going to play out over the next few hours. So what we're looking for is a nice, robust volume opening. So if you think about 32 million shares that were floated, we want to look for a fairly significant volume opening prior to getting ready. What we're trying to do is figure out, when we get buyers and sellers, the price where they potentially meet, communicating that with the underwriters, with the stabilizers from last night about where they might also want to add liquidity on the opening to help make it a robust opening.
So it looks like right now the offering price is $46, which is, would you say, mid-range?
Yes, so the original range was $44.49 and it priced at $46, so right in the middle of the range.
Okay, great. Now tell me about how significant this specific IPO is and how it's going to impact the overall market.
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is, obviously in the markets right now, you look for green shoots in the market. And I think when you have a company, Trinity, that could come to the market and raise $1.5 billion, that's the signs that the markets are beginning to unfreeze. As you know, the markets have ebbs and flows, but I think we're finally starting to see a bit of a thaw in what's been an IPO freeze for 2023.
Amazing. And you know, I'm going to ask you one quick question. I know the whole team up there is utilizing every photo opportunity here with our in-house photography team, but let's talk about your personal experience. You have been a long-time consumer of BIRKENSTOCK, is that correct?
I have. You just really aged me right here by letting everybody know, but I actually got my first pair of BIRKENSTOCKs in 1988 when I went to college out in California, and since then been an avid wearer of them my entire life, and I'm a huge fan of the product.
I mean, you got the fashionable ones on. Look at that.
Well,
and we were talking about how we got pedicures.
We did, and I do have the furry ones on to keep me nice and warm. And listen, I do appreciate that you totally outed me on my age here. So thank you.
Oh, it's all fun and games here on the floor of the exchange. Well, I know that everyone's going to be coming down to you as you do the price discovery process, so I won't keep you. Thank you so much, Pete.
Appreciate it, Trinity. Congratulations to everybody at BIRKENSTOCK and the New York Stock Exchange.
All right, talk to you soon. Okay, everyone, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to have more exciting festivities ahead. I mean, when you get behind the scenes video of how this product is made, it's just amazing. Anyway, I am joined with Jay Woods. He is the Chief Global Strategist for Freedom Capital. He is near and dear to us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Another fun IPO. That was probably the longest bell I've heard since I've been here in my 31 years. We started a little early, went a little late. Excitement was palpable, and the market's up today, so hopefully that bodes well as we go through the pricing process.
You know, speaking of that, the BIRKENSTOck stock is pricing out mid-range, about $46. I just talked to Pichiachi, the DMM for that. How amazing is it when fashion and finance meet? I mean, this is the latest IPO. Well, I should say the latest shoe to drop in the IPO market. I mean, it's great.
Yeah,
very clever, but I'm bummed.
Yes, it's a great company. This company's older than the New York Stock Exchange, 1774. I had no idea. So when you get a brand iconic like that listing here, right underneath the iconic bell podium we are, it's exciting. And yes, you said it priced at the midpoint of the range. I think that's perfect. And now we go through the pricing process, and people have to realize this is just day one. It's a long journey. It's been a long journey to get to this point. So how it acts today will not be indicative of what you do a quarter from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. It's a long-term growth story, and this is just another great step in the process of BIRKENSTOCK.
And speaking of sort of like a long road ahead, we have a very busy week. We have CPI data coming out on Thursday. We have bank earnings coming out on Friday. I mean, what are we looking at this week?
Yeah, this is a very busy time for us. We're right before it gets a little nutty tomorrow with the CPI number. The CPI number economically is the one data point over the last year that's moved markets more than any other data point. It is October, and people get a little spooked when we come to October. But October, believe it or not, historically is the month where we see the most bottoms in the market. And right now, that would be a great thing. We did have a sell-off. Seasonal, August, September. People got a little nervous about that. I see us bottoming. We've had some geopolitical concerns that we're dealing with. Right now, the market has been extremely resilient. Earnings season starts right after the CPI on Friday with JP Morgan and the banks reporting. We had PepsiCo yesterday. So they started us off with a nice beat and a little guidance higher. That's what we're going to watch for. But yeah, the next few weeks are going to be busy down here, and I think it's a great time to, start your journey by going public, because October, known for its bottoms, forget all the other crazy volatility stats you hear. This quarter is always the strongest quarter of the year, and we anticipate that to continue.
Why is that? Why is October known for its bottoms?
October, well, we've had some historical, you're too young to remember 1987 there, Trinity, but, it's just as we head into that third quarter, that final quarter, people reevaluate, they look for bargains, they look for stocks that are coming to the market, so there may be a few more IPOs before this quarter is done, and there's optimism as you head into the final year, and then you have people also chasing performance. There are 7 magnificent stocks that have done extremely well, but there are other stocks that have been doing okay, and their earnings have been solid, and they haven't performed as well. So what people will do when they reallocate finances is they'll try to chase performance, try to find those diamonds in the rough that are maybe up 2-3% or down a little bit in the year, and so we tend to see the tide lift the boats as we get to the end of the year.
What are the biggest performers right now? What's really driving the market?
But right now it's technology. That's what people have been looking for. But in each sector, there are specific stocks that are leading. And this has been one of those years where you look at it and you look for individual stocks within the sectors that have been doing extremely well. So each sector has its own big winners, but this isn't a year where the tide has lifted all the boats. The quarter, though, the end of the year, you tend to see that rally broaden out, and that's what we're anticipating. That's what we're seeing right now with the market up yet again. I think that's 4 days in a row. We had a nice reversal on Friday after the jobs number. So people are somewhat optimistic, but we're cautious. There are a lot of geopolitical concerns out there, and we'll see what earnings season brings us.
And we're getting images right now, the CEO with our executive team at the first trade bell as we get ready for that price discovery process. Again, I know you know the process, Jay, of all people, right? I mean, so this could take a few hours.
Yeah, it's slow, it's methodical. This is something we take great pride in here at the New York Stock Exchange with the human element, the human market maker. They make sure that the communication is back and forth with the different brokers from around the floor, the Goldmans, the Morgans, the JP Morgans of the world, letting them know exactly what each price level looks like, where there's strong demand, where there's a little resistance, and then once they get that book and that sweet spot, they'll open it, and that's when the market dictates where we're going to go after that. But like I said, it's a long process. We have 30 days before analysts can start to take coverage on it and give their strong opinion on the stock. Like we said, yes, it could be stressful this morning waiting for that first bell to ring for the stock itself, but it's a long journey, and we're very happy they're here at the New York Stock Exchange to take it with us. In fact, they're older than us. It's crazy.
I know, two powerhouse, iconic brands coming together to see the next phase of the BIRKENSTOCK journey.
Well, it's great to be here and great to be part of that story with them. So thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining me today. I'll let you go. You got a busy day ahead. I'll see you later.
All right.
All right, everyone. We're going to toss it to another commercial break, and we'll be right back. All right, I am joined now with Pete Ash. He is the archivist here at this 230-year-old institution. I mean, Pete, BIRKENSTOCK, 249-year-old. Now it's joining the NYSE community, over 2,400 listed companies, and we're a 230-year-old institution. You're the historian. How significant is this?
I mean, in my time here, we've never had a company older than us listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's kind of a weird place to be. Usually we're talking about our customs, our traditions and things. But you know, by listing today, they are now the oldest company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So they just are a little bit older than Takeda Pharmaceuticals, which is a Japanese company listed here in the New York Stock Exchange. And as I'm sure you've mentioned earlier, they're even older than us, founded in 1792.
Yeah, no, and tell me exactly how the BIRKENSTOCK brand fits into the NYSE community family.
Well, I mean, first place, very comfortable shoe wear for the trading floor is always nice. You know, our traders have to have their feet comfortable. But if you think about this idea, this iconic company that's existed, endured through time, that's the story of the New York Stock Exchange. That's the story of many of our listed companies. You know, we have companies like Consolidated Edison, Con Ed, as many people in New York call it, listed here 200 years. You know, what they were doing back then compared to now has changed. What we're doing compared to now has changed. In some ways, you know, they're still bringing great footwear, but using technology, being more sustainable. A lot of the core values of the New York Stock Exchange has really encouraged our listed companies. They come right in from day one, and it's the oldest company and the newest listed company, and have it all tackled.
I love that. The oldest company is now the newest listed company. That's amazing. And they have quite the installation here around the exchange, from their branding on the facade of the building to the whole setup out in Experience Square. And what do we got here behind us?
So I was really excited to see this. I didn't even know. You'd think they'd let the archivists know they're bringing it in. These are actually Steve Jobs' BIRKENSTOCKs. The picture behind you can see him with the other Steve, early days of Apple. He's wearing the shoes. I noticed he chose the socks with the sandals. Yeah. Bold choice. I've done no socks, but you know, everyone to their own. But yeah, this pair is part of the collection of BIRKENSTOCK. As you can imagine, almost 250 years, they have a fair number of shoes that have been worn by famous people. And I've actually seen this pair. I know you're speaking earlier to the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
You know, Wall Street Journal covered this pair, was down here pretty recently for celebrating their 245th anniversary.
Yes.
Not here at the New York Stock Exchange. They weren't listed yet, but right down the street at Cipriani's.
Amazing. What a story behind this. Would you say that this is the most fascinating thing that you have seen so far today on the floor?
Today, definitely. It's one of the most unique things. Yeah. You don't normally think, like, you know, old footwear. There was some accusations by traders that those may have just been chewed up by a dog on our newer pair, but as an archivist, I can tell you that those are, you know, I trust our colleagues over at BIRKENSTOCK Archives, that those are the legit ones.
You verify them. It went through the fact-checking process.
Exactly.
Well, I have to say, one of the more, like,
fascinating things to me is everybody wearing, even including the traders, wearing BIRKENSTOCks on the trading floor. I never thought I would see that day.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about where that fits in, a few years ago, Levi's, the jean company, they had been listed here previously. They've relisted on that day. Everyone wearing jeans on the trading floor. We've done things with other brands as well. I mean, one of the beautiful things, think about the iconic fashion brands listed here, the makers of the stuff we wear every day. When they come down, they really have that ability to take over the trading floor. Honestly, a little more comfortable than our typical dress shoes, and it's really a cool thing. And this is one of those days that, at some point, on Jeopardy, there was a question about when was the only time Levi's was on the trading floor. This could be a question on Jeopardy. It was the only time they allowed sandals to be worn on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Amazing. I mean, this is just such an exciting day. I love a good IPO. It's to cap off our hump day week on a Wednesday. The market is up. The stock is pricing mid-range, so it's an exciting day.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing to talk about history. The fact that we still price our stocks, and it's going to take a little bit of time, means we'll be able to cover some of the stuff going on today, but really, odds are we'll be off the air by the time that stock prices, because we're allowing those market makers to do what they've done here for just 231 years compared to our new listed company, which is far older than us, but really price that stock and make sure when it's ready to open, that it opens.
Okay, great. Well, I know that you have a busy day as well, so I will let you go. I'll see you later.
Thanks so much.
All right, everyone, we're going to toss it to another commercial break, but we'll be right back. All right, you guys, we are now out in Experience Square getting foot massages with my colleague Cassandra Sire. I mean, this is all about what BIRKENSTOCK is doing today with comfort and, just your overall health. Cassandra, good morning. What a great way to start the day.
Hi, Trinity. I mean, if I can do this every day, I absolutely will. Let's have this every day at the Experience Square.
I mean, this is hugely significant. You and I especially, we love when finance and fashion meet. And to have their IPO here today at the New York Stock Exchange, a 230-year-old institution, 249-year-old company. I mean, that's hugely significant.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, BIRKENSTOCK brand is just such an iconic brand. Very similar to New York Stock Exchange, right? Like, it's about the legacy, it's about longevity, it's about making sure that we are responding to customers first, and it's very similar to what the New York Stock Exchange does on a day-to-day basis. So we love having BIRKENSTOCK, list here.
And you have really been an integral part of this journey. I mean, you, Eric, your whole team really working hard with BIRKENSTOCK and their team to get to this process.
Yeah, this is a really good journey. I mean, Eric is based in London, I'm based here in New York. It's very much a tag team approach, and our entire effort with event planning, with marketing, with our strategy and execution, it was a whole team effort. And it started out by us reaching out and making sure that the CEOs and C-suite know what we're doing and what the New York Stock Exchange community means, what the platform can really allow for them. And after a lot of perseverance, they finally responded, and they decided to look at all the different viable exchanges out there and realize that New York Stock Exchange is the best fit for them.
Tell me, from where you sit, do you know exactly how the company plans to utilize the capital raised through their IPO?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of times companies come and raise money because they want to do something. A lot of times it's a liquidity need, it's a funding need, or they're just looking to expand. And we love helping companies raise new capital to help them build the product and services they want to really change the world. So, similarly, BIRKENSTOCK is doing the same thing. They're here to make sure that they can raise fresh capital and to change the world.
How do you plan on maintaining the relationship now that they are officially a part of the NYSE community of over 2,400 listed companies?
Exactly. So I think being a part of the community really allows for us to showcase their product, their service, and to allow for them to continue to innovate. And that's important to all of us, right? We want good feet to support, good shoes and good feet to support ourselves. But for them, we think welcoming them to the 2,400 of companies is really important. Why? Because companies that join us, like-minded CEOs come together, platform to be able to talk and share, what is important development in the marketplace.
Amazing. Well, everyone, I know that you're probably jealous on this morning. We're getting foot massages, but thank you so much, Cassandra, for speaking with me today. And I'm going to toss it now to my colleague Josh King with the last word while we finish our massages.
Thanks, Trinity. The picture of you and Cassandra down on Experience Square was awesome. I can't wait to join you in a couple minutes. Just some final closing comments. Not since Levi Strauss went public here for the second time on the New York Stock Exchange back on March 21st, 2019, if I'm correct, has this iconic trading floor behind me been bedecked with so much high fashion as it is today when we welcome BIRKENSTOCK. One more time, its ticker symbol NYSE BIRK, to our large family of 2,400 listed companies. So go back to that moment 4 years ago when we welcomed the 170-year-old Levi's brand back to the market. Traders, brokers, and market makers were dressed head to toe in Levi's denim best. And now, this morning, as we celebrate the 249-year-old BIRKENSTOCK on the occasion of its IPO, that same community, as you just saw from Pete Giacchi, is nattily attired with one of high fashion's hottest properties, covering much of the foot, except in models like the iconic Arizona, which I'm wearing today, that 10 toes that poke out beyond the front strap like spelunkers on a precipice. My two kids, an 18-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl, both love them. But those two loyal customers couldn't be more different. The girl might be from BIRKENSTOCK's Central Casting, a progressive free spirit, perhaps more comfortable in 60s counterculture than 2020's conformity. But the boy, he won't be outdone, and yet he's a plebe at the United States Naval Academy, where, alas, Birks are not included in the uniform of the day. So the boy's gonna have to wait until Thanksgiving to slip back into his favorite well-worn cork footbed, more comfortable in all weather, even when it's freezing outside and his toes are exposed to the elements, than anything else he could strap onto his feet or put on his foot. So believe me when I tell you, he is counting down the days. Over the last few weeks, as I've started to break in my own pair after a lifetime in LL Bean's Blucher moccasins and Sperry topsiders, when I wasn't wearing Allen Edmonds on the weekdays or Nikes on the weekends, I've come to know the many functional parts of the fabled Birkenstock. The outer rim to contain and support the foot, the transverse arch support to provide stability, the raised toe bar that encourages natural gripping motion, which I'm told increases circulation. Then there's this deep heel cup, providing cushioning to support the heel bone. I now get what everybody's talking about. Moving up there in age with the counterculture well behind me, I'm a veritable Birkenstock rookie, but I love them too. And isn't that what signals when a company and a brand has crossed the Rubicon and readied itself for the public market? When a product transcends its niche and goes mainstream, yet retains its classic heritage, quality, and cultural identity. Welcome, Birkenstock, to the NYSE, 249 years young, eclipsing our own 231-year history by 18 years, older than the United States itself. You certainly have arrived. Back in 1774, Johann Adam Birkenstock was listed as subject and cobbler in the archives of Langenbergheim, a small village in the German district of Hammersbach. 100 years after that, Johann's grandson, Conrad, had become a master cobbler, eventually introducing a technological revolution in footwear, the flexible insole. Then we have the American tourist, Margot Fraser, who first brought the beloved shoes to America in 1966, setting off the inexorable trend that brings Birkenstock today to the NYSE. From college campuses to the corner of Wall and Broad Street, it's a great day everywhere for our 2 feet. I'm Josh King, and that's the last word.
Together, we built something truly beautiful in the true iconic notion of what America is all about.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus and we have the ability to be agile and innovate.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.